皆さん、こんにちは。オンラインの皆さん、そして会場にご参加の皆さん、こんにちは。リンク J の高橋です。本日はドイツ貿易投資振興機関 G 体主催、そしてリンク J 共催のハイブリッドイベント、日独ライフサイエンスセミナー、なぜ EU でドイツが選ばれるのか、ドイツライフサイエンス市場の最新トレンドということで、ここから放映をさせていただきます。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。で、本日のプログラムなんですけども、リンク J、我々としても非常に興味深い話題というふうに考えています。実は私も少し本日に関連するドイツの企業にいたことがありまして、そのドイツのイノベーションというものを、やはりもう少し日本の中で、パートナリングであったりとか、そういうものが生まれるんではないかというふうに常に考えていたところがあります。パートナーシップを持つ上でもですね、非常に日本人と組みやすいと言ったら失礼かもしれませんけども、そういう親和性が非常に高い国の一つであるというふうにも思います。そのライフサイエンスを見てもですね、例えば、マックス・プランクのような基礎研究の強い機関であったり、または大手の製薬企業であったり、またはそれを支援するようなエボテックであったり、ヌビザンというような、そういう企業もあります。さらには、ビオンテックなどは最近の話題かもしれませんね。そういう意味において、非常にライフサイエンスとしても興味深いところ。今日はそういうお話を含めて、いろんなお話を伺えるんではないかというふうに、大変期待をしているところです。で、我々、リンク J、皆さんご存知のように、ライフサイエンスイノベーションエコシステムを醸成することを目的として活動をしております。今回のようなイベントに加えまして、さらには、様々なピッチイベントであったりとか、アクセラレータープログラム、そういうようなものもサポートをさせていただいています。現時点で会員としても、600を近い数字まで上がってまいりました。そういう中で、多くのアカデミア、また製薬企業、ベンチャー企業等々が参加をしていただいていまして、そういうネットワークがさらに広がっていけばというふうに考えています。そしてまた今回のようにですね、海外を含めたトピックをふんだんに盛り込む形で、グローバルなネットワークを今後形成をしていきたいと思っています。ところで言い忘れていましたけども、今日、すでに登録をしてくださっている方々、300名に近い方、それに加えて、この会場にも来ていただいているという形で、一つ、興味の大きさも見えているのかなというふうには思います。それでは、ここからトピックに入っていきたいんですが、その前に少し事務的なところで、ご紹介をさせてください。で、本日は、画面で、お示ししているようなプログラムに沿って進めてまいります。で、こちらの会場にいらっしゃる方はもちろん、オンラインで参加をしてくださる方も、Q&A 機能からご質問を受け付けておりますので、ぜひ、質問を投げていただければというふうに思います。また、この会場にご参加をしていただいている方のみとはなりますけれども、この講演の後にネットワーキングの時間を設けております。最近少しやっぱりコロナも落ち着いてきて、このネットワーキングの機会が非常に有効に活用してくださっている方も多いと思います。ぜひ、実際のリアルの会場にもご参加を検討いただければというふうには思います。また、本イベントでは英語の字幕をご利用いただけます。字幕は市販されているアプリを使用しておりますので、リンク J および G 体は語訳であったりとか、訳文の欠落ということに関しては、責任を負いかねるということがございますので、これはご了承をお願いします。また、ウェビナーの録画、録音、画面キャプチャーは固くお断りをしておりますので、ご了承ください。最後になりますが、会場ご参加の方は、机の上にアンケート、オンライン参加の方は、ウェビナー終了後に表示されるアンケートフォームにお進みをいただき、皆様のご意見、ご感想をぜひ聞かせていただければと思います。さらに役立つようなトピック、そういうものも取り入れていただけたらというふうに考えています。それでは、岩村さんより、イントロダクションとモデレーターのご紹介をお願いしたいと思います。で、よろしくお願いします。
ただいまご紹介に預かりましたドイツ貿易投資振興機関の岩村でございます。本日はライフサイエンスイノベーションネットワークジャパンリンク J 様のご支援、ご共催により日独ライフサイエンスセミナーが開催できますこと大変幸いに存じます。このセミナーの機会を併機関にご提供くださったリンク J 様、開会にあたってご挨拶くださった事務局長、高橋俊一様に心より御礼申し上げます。本日のセミナーは、なぜ EU でドイツが選ばれるのかと、ストレートなタイトルになりました。ドイツのバイオテクノロジー及び製薬産業は、現在世界中で使用されているメッセンジャー RNA ワクチン、診断法及びその他のソリューション開発において主導的な役割を果たしております。今日はドイツにおいて拡大するライフサイエンス市場の最新トレンドを海外企業のビジネスチャンスの観点から皆様と共に見てまいりたいと思います。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。まず、ドイツ貿易投資振興機関についてご紹介させていただきます。ドイツ貿易投資振興機関、略称 GTAI は、ドイツ連邦政府によって設立され、政府が 100% 所有する経済振興機関です。いわば、ジェトロ様のドイツ版です。ドイツ連邦経済気候保護省の所管にあり、同省事務次官が監督役員会会長を務め、同省の後援のもと運営されております。ドイツ及び世界各国に50カ所を超える拠点を構え、世界中を網羅するパートナーのネットワークを有しております。業務の大きな流れは、ドイツでビジネスを立ち上げようとする日本を含む外国企業の皆様に対する無料でのアドバイスやサポートのご提供、そして海外市場への進出を目指すドイツ国内企業に包括的な海外市場の情報を提供することです。ドイツへの進出を計画される企業に向け、併機関が提供する具体的なサービスの概要について一言ご案内いたします。併機関は主要産業の情報、法規制の情報、税制についての情報、補助金、公的融資についての情報提供と申請への支援、立地候補地選定の支援、進出先の支援団体紹介をドイツ連邦政府の公的機関として無料で行っております。それでは講演に入らせていただきます。講演1は併機関ヘルスケア産業部門ダイレクターのマルクス・シュミットによるドイツヘルスケアマーケットにおける産業トレンドと海外企業の投資についての講演です。ヘルスケア産業部門では、医療技術、e ヘルス、製薬、バイオ、ヘルスケア、高齢者介護産業における海外企業のドイツ市場進出サポートを行っております。コロナ禍において、彼のチームは、ドイツ連邦政府の関連省庁や政府団体と密に連携して、医療機器の供給確保に努め、医療用マスクや薬剤の現地生産に向けた支援を行いました。シュミットは法学博士号取得後、法律業務に携わってきましたが、2000年に併機関に入ってからは、ニューヨーク、ワシントン DC での北米ダイレクターを歴任。若き日には日本でインターンも経験したという知日家です。マルクス、よろしくお願いいたします。
Hope you can hear me okay. Thank you very much, Iwamura-san, for the kind introduction. And thank you, of course, very much to Takahashi-san and Link.J for providing the facilities and for hosting us today. Let's see. Slides. Slides might be coming up in just a second. So my name is Markus Schmidt. I'm heading the Chemicals and Life Sciences team at Germany Trade and Invest. And it's my pleasure to introduce some key numbers about the German life science market and as well as some key trends and drivers for this industry sector. And as you will see in just a moment when the slides are ready, some of these trends and drivers are not only connected to the corona pandemic, but they accelerated many of the developments. Yes, here we go. Very good. So let's jump right in. Allow me to briefly introduce some key numbers about the German healthcare market. Annual healthcare spending exceeded 440 billion euro last year. That's about 63 trillion yen. And that accounts for about 13.1% of GDP. Now, the previous year, that was 12.5%, and before the pandemic, 11.7%. So you see that healthcare spending grew much faster than the overall economy during the pandemic. Germany has about 83 million inhabitants. Health insurance is mandatory. Most people elect to have public health insurance, while about 10% are privately insured. I will talk about hospitals in just a moment. Number of hospitals is slightly declining. The number of beds increased, but that's due to the corona pandemic. Overall, that number was sinking before the pandemic. The number of active physicians is also increasing, while pharmacy numbers are slightly decreasing. And overall, in the healthcare sector, we have about 7.5 employees. I mentioned hospitals. We get asked about hospitals a lot of times. So I wanted to share some very basic numbers. As you can see, hospital spending continues to go up year after year. We do not have the numbers for 2021, unfortunately, yet. But for the first year of the pandemic, you can see that it was a steady increase, just like the previous year. So neither an explosion in numbers nor a decline. I mentioned that the numbers of hospitals slightly decreasing. You can see the numbers here. And that's because there are many. First of all, the number of hospitals in Germany is extremely high for the size of the country, much higher than in most countries. There are many small hospitals, especially in rural areas. So, for them, it's hard in competition to stay cost efficient. And of course, also quality care has to be maintained at all times. So that's why the number is going down slightly. Here you can see the setup. If you look at the sizes of hospitals across the board, you see there's a huge number of smaller facilities. And because of competition that I just mentioned, they either merge with other facilities and form bigger units, so they have lower administrative cost, or they might go out of business. And there's more competition in the overall market because there are more and more privately owned hospitals. And of course, with a municipality operates a hospital or private sector company, they're in the same market and they all have to compete. I would like to leave it for that, just for the general healthcare market. I've listed some links. I don't expect you to be able to read all these links, but we'll be happy to share this presentation, and you can click on the various links if you would like to learn more about the market, how the German healthcare system works in detail, some more data, recent articles that we published, but you can also find testimonials and videos about various sectors, such as biotechnology, medical devices, and so on. And with that, I would talk about some key trends and drivers. Key driver is still demographic change in Germany. Germany has one of the oldest populations, actually the oldest population just after Japan. And as people become older and there are fewer people to support them, it's not easy for the care sector, of course. Also chronic diseases. It's interesting that chronic diseases account for 80% of our healthcare spending. So very high number for that market. So quite similar actually to Japan. Yes, so with that, let me talk about three sectors briefly: biotechnology and pharmaceuticals, next miniaturization, automation, robotics, and finally digitalization. Now, when it became clear that the corona pandemic would affect many countries, including Germany, many companies were working very hard to find solutions around the globe. And the German government supported these efforts with very large funding programs, some for international funding programs, but they also invested about 100 billion yen in 3 domestic companies. And that was BioNTech, CureVac, and IDT. And as it turned out, this was a very good investment, especially in the case of BioNTech, because they succeeded in developing a highly effective vaccine based on mRNA technology. And it was also quickly brought to market with their partner, US company Pfizer. So in most countries, the vaccine is more commonly known as Pfizer. I believe it's the same in Japan, but it was developed by a German company called BioNTech. So the two companies equally share the revenues. Now, what's truly remarkable is not just the speed how the vaccine was developed in less than a year. So on average, it took 13 years to develop a vaccine, and this time just 1 year. But what's also remarkable is that BioNTech worked with people from 60 different countries and more than 150 partner companies, and they signed more than 1,200 contracts or agreements with those partner companies to develop this vaccine. So it was not just one company, but it was a huge, complex endeavor by many, many players coming together. So as you can see, collaboration and international ties are key to success in industries like biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. So the German, of course, you know, when BioNTech started, they really come from the field of oncology. This was vaccines, so something different. But of course, they didn't start looking, you know, for other partners. They've been working with many other companies to begin with. And the same is true for pretty much all biotechnology companies. They're all very closely connected. And here I listed some major alliances between German biotechnology companies and international partners. And you can see that many of those alliances, those deals, have very large potential volumes. There's usually an upfront payment, and there are certain milestones. And if everything goes well, you know, you can reach the full potential. And many of those deals exceed 100 billion yen. So this is very critical for the industry. So as a result, revenue in the biotechnology industry went up sharply. But also R&D investment and financing is much higher than before the pandemic. So the German biotechnology industry as a whole has really profited. Now, what's interesting about Germany is, although Germany is the birthplace of pharmaceuticals and many companies like Bayer are more than 150 years old, it's mostly international companies that are leading the German market. In fact, there's only 2 companies, Bayer and Fresenius, that are among the top 10 in the German market. So here's a list by overall market, pharmacy market, and hospital market. So it's a very international market. Germany is the largest pharmaceutical market in Europe and the 4th largest in the world. Japan is number 3. US is by far the largest. China is in between. What you can also see is the growth numbers for 2020. And you saw that the Chinese market actually declined. Japan was flat and Germany grew by 7%. And that was not just, you know, 1 year growth, But if you look at the growth of the pharmaceutical market in Germany, it's actually been quite high, exceeded 6% on average over the past 5 years, and also the first half of this year, it's grown quite significantly. But for international companies, Germany is not just a big market. They also invest heavily in Germany. Here you see a list of major investments in Germany by both international and German companies. German companies would include Bayer, BioNTech, Boehringer, IDT, and also Merck. That's the German Merck, not the US Merck, two separate companies. But you also see international companies like Pfizer, Roche, Sanofi, and Japanese company Takeda that recently invested significantly in Germany. And you see those are mostly production sites, but also a lot of R&D operations. So Germany has the highest number of life science companies in Europe by far, also the highest R&D investments in Europe, and those continue to rise year to year as well. I could have shown some extra slides, but just to sum it up, they're also the most FDA-approved manufacturing plants in Germany within Europe, and a lot of approved biopharmaceuticals. So both German and international companies use Germany to develop drugs, to produce drugs, and they also export to either other European countries or even outside of Europe. So Takeda, for example, they're manufacturing a dengue fever vaccine that's used worldwide. Last slide for biotechnology pharmaceuticals, just what the focus for research and development is on. You see the hottest topics are oncology, inflammatory diseases, infectious diseases, neurological illnesses, metabolic disorders, and cardiovascular. And the numbers that you see, they indicate the number of projects that may lead to approved new medications or extended approvals by the end of next year. So many developments underway right now. With that, I would switch over to medical devices, medical technology. Also a very large sector, more than 1,400 manufacturers with more than 20 employees. And you see many more small companies, so mostly small and medium-sized enterprises. And again, R&D is very important. 9% of revenue is spent on R&D. In fact, I looked at the patent applications in Europe, and it's interesting to see that medical technology and digital communication always go neck to neck in terms of who has the most patent applications in Europe in the last few years. You see that pharmaceutical and biotechnology combined have about as many patents or patent applications as medical technologies. So very much driven by innovation. What I also find interesting, US is by far leading the numbers. Then there's Germany, but Japan has very many patent applications in Europe. So more patent applications than any European country except for Germany, which shows us there's a lot of innovation coming from Japan. Maybe not all, succeeding in products, but we see there's much more potential for Japanese companies to introduce innovation in Europe. With that, let me talk about one of the key trends, miniaturization, automation, robotics. Goal, of course, is to improve quality and reduce stress on the patient. If you think about minimally invasive, but of course, there are many other advantages as well. So we actually see 4 key areas for miniaturization, automation, and robotics. Automation would be, for example, in hospital pharmacies, dispensing for patients, that is more and more automated to eliminate human error. Can also save some personnel resources. But of course, also medical device manufacturing. There's, if you think about additive manufacturing, for example, many other technologies that just allow for better products. Surgery, I will talk about on the next slide, same as rehab and prosthesis. And finally, the care sector we think is also very interesting. I mentioned earlier that there's more and more care needed as people become older. We don't quite see, robots replacing humans for elderly care, but they can support human care staff, for example, by deliveries or also doing some patient engagement. So this is an area that's just starting to develop in Germany. I think Japan is much further ahead, but certainly a very interesting field as well. Yeah, with robotics, maybe not going to go too much into details, certainly Da Vinci and maybe Stryker as well. So many surgical robots already in use in Germany, and people are willing also to pay extra out of pocket, for minimally invasive surgeries. Quality can be very good, but of course it also takes a lot of training as doctors need to switch to new instruments and new techniques. But nevertheless, we see more and more systems being applied. And there's a number of German companies, international companies, and it's interesting to see how they, some German aerospace center actually developed a system that they then out-licensed to US company. There's some German companies partnering with US companies, or Siemens by acquiring US companies. So a lot of international cooperation going on in this field. Yes, and similar in rehab. Cyberdyne is probably a company you're familiar with. Kinova is a Canadian company we work with. They have a robot arm for wheelchairs. That's quite interesting. Rewalk Robotics, we also have a feature story about them from Israel. They have an exoskeleton that is now included in the German Medical Aids Register, so can be prescribed, will be reimbursed. All very exciting news. Yes, with that, I'm going to come to the last part. Digitalization. This is, of course, a huge field with many, many, many topics. You see some keywords listed: electronic patient records, digital exchange of data and telemedicine, apps, e-prescriptions, but also health data, artificial intelligence. So much going on in this field that I really can't summarize it all, within 5 minutes. But we actually had an event, the Japan-Germany Industry Forum, just before the pandemic, 2019, here in Tokyo, where we spoke about many of these topics for a whole afternoon, and the presentations are still available. So again, if you get the presentation, you can click on the link and you will be led to those presentations to go into more detail. But what I wanted to share at least is the effect of the pandemic was that, not so much technological advancement, but really that patients, doctors, public health departments, and others, because of the pandemic, saw the benefit of digitalization and finally applied it. If you just think of a telemedicine, for example. And so there was much, much higher urgency to also bring digitalization, for example, to public health departments. Because, previously, yes, there was a plan to have everyone connected and everybody's reporting numbers. But in case of a pandemic, of course, you have to have same-day data in the same system by everyone, and not just 90%. So much, much more pressure. And many projects developed quite nicely. Government, of course, picked this up because of political pressure and provided a lot of funding. There were many funding programs in various areas. The Hospitals Future Act was just one of these programs where they funded digitalization, further digitalization in hospitals. And that program was in excess of 600 billion yen for just 1 year. So a lot going on in this field as well. And we think this trend will continue. So with this, I'm coming to the end. You've seen this slide in Japanese, so I don't need to repeat it. I will also include my contact details, but the other way, of course, is also to go on our Japanese website, where you also will find the contact of my Japanese colleagues. Thank you very much. And And with that, I would like to invite Akamatsu-san to the podium. Thank you very much. Ah.
マルクス、ありがとうございました。
はい、ご紹介ありがとうございます。シスメックスの赤松でございます。本日はこのような場をいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。リンク J 様、GTA 様、誠にありがとうございます。先ほどご紹介ありましたように、2013年から2019年までドイツの方で実際に住みまして、企業運営に携わってきました。で、すみません、マスクオフですね。で、私はアカデミアの人間ではないんで、企業経営の観点から、いかにしてドイツ企業とコラボレーションしていくか、あとドイツ人とドイツのテクノロジーとコラボレーションしていくかという観点で少しお話できたらと思います。動かない。私のプレゼンテーション入る前に、まず、シスメックスの会社がどういったものをやっているのかっていうところと、あと先ほど話にありましたパルテックゲーンベーハがどういった企業なのかというところをご紹介しないとちょっとお話にいけないもので、まずシスメックスのご紹介からさせていただきます。で、こちらに会社概要がございますが、1968年に設立されました会社でして、連結の売上高が3600億円ということです。で、関係会社数として76社あるんですが、日本国内には10社しかなくて、ほとんどが海外の子社という形になっております。で、従業員数も約1万名ですが、こちらの方も海外の方が6割ほどいまして、6000名が海外の従業員ということで、日本の神戸の会社ではあるんですけど、非常にインターナショナルな会社ということでございます。で、事業領域ですけど、シスメックスはいわゆる検体検査、インビトロダイアグノスティックスを携わっている会社です。で、インビトロダイアグノスティックスっていうのは、サンプルをテスティングするところでして、血液であったり尿であったりっていうようなそういった人体のサンプルをテストする会社です。で、一番のメインビジネスっていうのはヘマトロジー検査と言われる、CBC、白血球数であったり赤血球数であったりとか、そういったベーシック検査っていうところがメインビジネスになっております。で、最近ではメディカルロボット事業というサージカルロボットですね。こちらの方も川崎重工と一緒に始めたということです。で、こちらはグループの企業理念でして、ミッションに書いてあります通り、ヘルスケアの進化をデザインするということで、ビジネスドメインはもうとにかくヘルスケアですよということです。で、ヘルスケア以外のところはタッチしませんということがクリアかと思います。で、かつ、ヘルスケアの進化をデザインするということで、ただ単にヘルスケアでビジネスをしていきましょうということではなくて、何かサムシングニュー、新しいものを世に出していくと。これがもう企業理念ということでございます。で、こちらシスメックスの長期経営目標ですが、先ほど言いましたように、ヘルスケアテスティングに特化している会社と で、かつ、ユニーク&アドバンスドヘルスケアっていうことで、特徴のあるものを何か出していこうということです。ただ単にマーケットがあるからビジネスをしましょうということじゃなくて、何か、バリューを届けられるものがない限りは、そこに参入しないという経営戦略でございます。で、当社の歩みですが、自分で言うのもなんなんですけど、非常にビューティフルなカーブを描いているかと思うんです。で、売上1968年にエスタブリッシュされてから、売上の方も順調に伸びてきております。で、この売上のバーグラフですけど、ライトブルーのバーが海外売上です。で、ダークブルーのバーが日本国内の売上です。設立当初は日本国内だけの売上だったんですが、それが海外売上がどんどん増えていったということです。今現在では約 85% が海外売上ということになっております。日本は 15% のみということです。で、こういったちょっと成功の理由を私なりに考えますと、大きくは2つかなということです。1つは、いち早く海外マーケットに進出していったと、チャレンジしていったということです。で、最初に海外に拠点を出したのが1980年。これドイツに原稿を出しまして、それから私たどもの海外ビジネスが始まっていったわけですけど、1980年当初、私たちの売り上げも数十億円程度っていう、数十億円程度という中で、海外に進出しようというのは非常にチャレンジングなことでした。こういった海外チャレンジというのをいち早くやったということが一つ。それからもう一つが、ビジネスモデルを変えてきたっていうことです。設立当初の会社名というのは、当は医療電子っていう、機械メーカーだったんです。で、ハードウェアだけを販売してた。ただ、お客様が実際使っていただくにあたって、ハードだけ提供して、あと、試薬は自家調整で、作ってくださいねっていう形を取ってたんですけど、それだと本当の意味での、クオリティっていうのは提供できないっていうことで、機械プラス試薬っていうふうにビジネスモデルを変えたと。で、それから、現場を、お客様を見てると、非常に検査技師の方がお忙しいということで、オートメーションのニーズがあるということで、オートメーション化を進めた。で、さらにはその IT テクノロジーが、進歩してきた中で、オンラインでいかにバリューを届けるかということで、そういった形で機械屋から機械プラス試薬、プラスオートメーション、プラス IT ソリューションという形でビジネスモデルを変えてきたということです。で、昨今では、リンク J 様ともコラボしてるんですけど、ライフサイエンス事業の方にも参入しているということで、事業分野を拡大していっている。で、こういった形で海外にいち早くチャレンジしたっていうことと、あと、事業、ビジネスストラクチャーを変革していくっていう、このチャレンジを継続してやっているということが、成功の要因かなと考えております。で、私どものドイツの拠点ですが、先ほど申しました通り、1980年にシスメックスユアロップという、会社を立ち上げました。で、これは、移民や地域全般を管轄する統括会社になっておりまして、ハンブルグに存在するんですが、その後、シスメックスドイツランド、これはドイツ国内だけの販売を担う会社です。で、その後、2010年にヒタドという会社、デュッセルドルフ周辺にあるんですけど、この会社については、開業医市場ですね。私たちのビジネスドメインがどうしても大きなホスピタルのラボラトリーっていうことになるんですけど、開業医市場、フィジシャンズオフィスをターゲットとした会社を立ち上げた、買収したということです。それから2013年にシスメックスパルテック、あとアイノスティックスという2社を買収しまして、で、これら2社っていうのは、いわゆる開発機能を持つ、機能会社になっております。それから2018年には R&D センターをハンブルグに出しております。で、こちらがですね、シスメックスの売上構成になるんですが、私たちのメインビジネス、ヘマトロジーが 60% 程度を占めております。で、その他に尿検査事業であったり、血液凝固検査事業であったりという形になっておりますが、ヘマトロジーの次に 0.6% ではあるんですが、FCM 検査というのがございまして、これフローサイトメーター事業になるんですが、これを担っているのがパルテック社になります。で、この実は並びにも意味がございまして、ヘマトロジーの次に FCM 検査が来ているということです。また後ほど、パルテック FCM 検査については、お話しさせていただきます。で、先ほど出ましたメディカルロボット事業、手術支援ロボットですが、2013年に川崎重工とジョイントベンチャーで立ち上げた会社、シスメックスと川崎重工で立ち上げたメディカロイドという会社によって、事業展開をしております。で、2020年の12月に神戸大学で1例目の初症例を実施しまして、その後順調に手術症例数も増えて、今では約500症例をすでにこなしたという状況でございます。はい、こちらからパルテック事業についてお話しします。まずちょっとここで私のキャリアを書かせていただいてるんですが、2010年の10月からですね、シスメックスの事業戦略本部という本部で、ヘマトロジー事業戦略を担当してました。で、ヘマトロジー事業というのが先ほどから出てきてますシスメックスのコアのビジネスでして、その当初はシスメックスの売上全体の80% 弱がヘマトロジー事業で占められていると。で、今までのこの伸びっていうのは全てヘマトロジー事業から来てたんですね。で、その当時でヘマトロジーのグローバルマーケットシェアがすでに 40% を超えておりまして、で、その事業戦略を担当しろということで、これはこのままほっとけば、当然伸びがフラットになってくる。で、今までのような成長が得られないということで、何か新しいことを始めないと会社の将来がないよっていう非常に危機感を持っておりました。で、その中で、ただ単にマーケットがあるから参入しようとかいう話じゃなくて、このヘマトロジーのナンバーワンポジションを使って何か強みを生かせる事業がないのかっていうことでいろいろ考えた結果がそのフローサイトメーター事業ということなんですね。ですからヘマトロジーとフローサイトメーター事業というのは一つワンセットで考えているところがございましてっていうのがあって先ほどありました円グラフでヘマトロジーの次に FCM 事業というのがちっちゃいですけど来ているという理由なんですね。で、その時に立てた戦略でフローサイトメーター事業に参入しよう。じゃあ、一から作るんじゃなくて、もう時間を買うということでどこか買収しようということで、このパルテック社っていうのがたまたまドイツにあって、そちらを買収することになったということです。で、その後、買収した後、それの運営、あと、いかにシナジー効果を出していくか、そこもやってこいということで、結局2013年から6年間、ドイツの方に赴任して、会社経営に携わったということです。で、これがパルテック社の概要ですけど、設立が1967年ということで、シスメックス本体と非常に同じような時期に立ち上がった会社です。で、場所ですが、ゲルリッツっていうザクセン州ですね。もうポーランドとチェコの国境にあるようなところです。で、そこに本社がございます。で、その他にミュンスターというところとライプチヒというところに拠点があると。で、従業員数が約200名で、売上自体が先ほどのポーションからお分かりだと思うんですけど、約30億円です。未だ30億円ということで、まだまだ期待値には達してないという状況ではありますが、どういったものをやっているかというと、エッセンシャルヘルスケアと呼んでるんですけど、HIV 患者のモニタリングをするときに CD4 を測るわけですけど、その CD4 の専用機を出しています。で、このソリューションについては WHO のクオリフィケーションもいただいているという製品で、グローバルに展開している製品になります。それからリサーチ分野、あとインダストリアル分野。インダストリアル分野っていうのは、主には飲料製造に関わる品質担保の菌を測定するソリューションということです。例えばオレンジジュースとかワインとかビールとかもそうなんですけど、その中に菌がいるかどうか、菌の種類っていうのもいろいろあるんですけど、例えばワインだといい菌と悪い菌があるんですね。 で、そういった菌を測るソリューションというのを FCM、フローサイトメーターで提供していると、そういった会社になります。で、この会社に投資した狙いなんですが、とにかくシナジー効果を出すということです。先ほど言いました HIV のモニタリングソリューション、CD4 のモニタリングソリューションというのは、主に途上国で需要があるものです。で、シスメックスの方もヘマトロジー検査というベーシックテスティングですね。で、これは当然先進国のみならず途上国でも需要がありますので、単純に一緒に売ればいいじゃんっていうところです。で、それが一つ目。それから、このパルテック社っていうのが CD4 のビジネスはできてたんですけど、いわゆる病院のラボラトリーにはもう全然タッチできなかったんです。やはりこのラボラトリー市場っていうのは非常にこのレギュレーションとかが厳しくて、ゼロから入っていくっていうのがやはり経験値がないとなかなかしんどいということで、シスメックスの持っている経験値、あと販売と、あとお客さんのアフターサポートですね。その経験値を使って、このクリニカル FCM 市場と呼んでるんですけど、そこに参入しようということで決定をしました。で、その当初、リサーチ FCM っていうか、研究者用の FCM はいっぱいあったんですけど、それをバリデーションをちゃんと取って、レギュレーションをちゃんと取って、クリニカル市場で使うっていうことがほとんどありませんでしたので、それをいち早くやっていこうっていう意図です。で、そこではもう、パルテック社のテクノロジーとシスメックスの事業基盤、これのコラボ、シナジーが出るんじゃないかということで、これが2つ目の狙いでした。で、3つ目は、パルテック社はリサーチ市場に非常に強いと。シスメックスはクリニカル市場ということで、将来的にサムシングニュー、何かを生み出そうというときに、このコラボレーションが得られるんじゃないかということです。はい。以上からですね、ちょっとあと、実際に私がこの6年間、ドイツでやってきた、いろんな自戒の念も込めて、どういったことを思っているかというところをちょっとお話しさせていただきますけど、投資した後のタスクですね。何かコラボレーションを始めたときに、あれをしないといけない、これをしないといけないっていう、ダーッとリストアップを皆さん大体されるんです。で、ただ、そのリストっていうのはどんどん増えていく一方なんですよね。これもやった方がいい、あれもやった方がいいと。で、そうしてるともう現場が全く回らなくなるんで、逆にやらないことを決めるっていう。これをやった方がいいです。私の経験からいくと、当初これパルテックゲーンベーハーという名前だったんですけど、シスメックスグループに入ったんで、シスメックスパルテックゲーンベーハーということで、社名を変えたんですね。私もその当初、もう変えましょうということで変えたんですが、これが大変でして、実は世界中に販売してますから、世界の薬事登録を変えないといけない、輸入許可を変えないといけない、あとドキュメンテーション、取説にしろ、サービスマニュアルにしろ、全部パルテックゲーンベーハーっていうのが文書の下の方にちょっと入ってるんです。で、そういったものを全てのドキュメント変えるのに、雲仙ドキュメントも変えたっていうこともありまして、それが本当にプライオリティだったのかなと。で、もちろんやった方がいいのはいいんですけど、それを今やらないといけないのかっていうことで、やらないことを決めるっていうことは非常に重要かなと思います。で、2つ目、日本、親会社のやり方、考え方、の導入についてなんですけど、これはちょっと投資の目的によるかと思うんですね。で、私、海外ビジネスに携わっているのが長いんで、他の企業さんの例とかもいろいろ聞いてるんですけど、例えば、自動車メーカーさんで、ただ単にその土地の生産力が欲しいっていう時、その時は日本から SOP を持っていって、全く同じように作ってください。日本のやり方を踏襲してください。これでいいと思うんですよ。ただ、今回の場合、シスメックスの場合はいかにコラボレーションをやっていくかっていうことなんで、日本のやり方をそのままやれってなると、の人が考えられなくなる、動けなくなるっていうことが起こるんですよね。ということで、この遠心力と求心力のバランスって言ってるんですが、このバランスを考えるのが非常に重要です。現地任せにしちゃうと、 どうしても思ってもない方向に行っちゃったりすることがあるんで、ここだけは守らないといけないっていう求心力のところ、ここをかっちり抑えた上で、あとは遠心力を働かせる。だから逆にそのマーケティング販売目的だけであれば、遠心力ばかり働かしてもいいと思うんです。ただ、こういったシナジーの時はバランスっていうのを非常に考えないといけないかなと。で、最後ですが、日々のオペレーション上の判断についてなんですが、私たち日本人が思っている当たり前っていうのは、やはりドイツ人の当たり前でもありませんし、シスメックスの当たり前っていうのは、パルテク社の当たり前でもないということで、日々何かジャッジメントをしないといけないんです。これどうしましょう。例えば原料調達においても、パルテク社の人間は一括でドッといっぱい買ったら単価安くなるじゃんっていうので安く買う。ただ、シスメックスの運営方針としてはジャストインタイムで必要な分だけ買って在庫を減らす。ただ、どちらも正解なんです。ただ、そのどちらを取るかっていうジャッジメント、これのクライテリアをきっちり考え方の根拠を説明するっていうことが必要です。で、日本だと、いやもう当たり前だから、シスメックスだとね、当たり前だから、いっぱい在庫を抱えない。これは当たり前ってもう通ってるんで、説明する必要ないんですけど、特にドイツ人、特にパルテック社で運営するときには、その根拠ですね、判断の根拠をきっちり説明するっていうことが必要。で、特に私思ったのは、日本人ってやっぱり、あうんの呼吸っていうか文脈を読むんですよね。だから1から10まで喋らなくても分かるでしょっていうところがあるんだけど、ドイツ人は逆にそこがローコンテクスト文化っていうか文脈を読まない。いい面悪い面あるんです。で、きっちり文書にして、きっちり判断根拠を示さないと納得しない。納得しないと動いてくれないんで、ここの説明責任っていうのは経営者、マネージャーに必ずあるかなと思います。で、私が常に思ってたのは、フェアイナフっていう言葉を自問自答してました。で、それは本当にドイツ人にとってフェアな判断になっているのか、独りよがりじゃないの、シスメックスの当たり前に左右されてないのっていうことで、フェアイナフ、私のジャッジメントはどうだったかということを常に考えておりました。で、これ最後になるんですけど、シスメックス社いろんなところに協賛もしておりまして、フィギュアスケートの坂本香織さんとか、あと、陸上部とか、あと、今度、2025年にある関西エクスポですね。こちらの方にも協賛しておりますので、いろんな活動しております。ぜひ、またシスメックスも応援いただけたらと思います。以上でございます。ありがとうございました。
赤松様、どうもありがとうございました。ここで、リューベック大学医療エンジニアリング研究所およびフラウンフォーファー個別化細胞医療工学研究所のアルント・ペーター・シュルツ教授に、ドイツ市場へのアクセス、臨床研究、R&D 並びにドイツでの連携について、ドイツよりズームにてご講演いただきます。それでは、ショルツ、教授、よろしくお願いいたします。Good morning, Professor Schultz. Thank you very much for accepting our request for your lecture about access to German healthcare market and collaboration in laboratory research and R&D. Now the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? I guess so. Just let me know if there are any technical problems.
We can hear you, so yeah, please go ahead.
Good. Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here and give my, insights into research and development in German medical product market and, the area of clinical studies, partnering with stakeholders in Germany and, a healthcare provider's view on market access. I am not a business guy. Yes, as I said, my name is Peter Schulz. I'm a trained physician, so a medical doctor with medical training in Germany as well as in Britain. I'm a specialist general surgeon, but after that I have further specialist training in trauma and orthopedics, and then later in specialized traumatology in the BG Trauma Hospital Hamburg. I'll get to that in a minute. After working as a surgeon here in the trauma hospital in Hamburg, I worked for 15 years at the University Hospital in Lübeck, Schleswig-Holstein, which is just a bit north of Hamburg, in the Department of Trauma and Orthopedics, and returned to Hamburg 2 years ago as a head of research at the BG Trauma Center. What is the BG Hospital, or the group of hospitals? The Berufsgenossenschaften, as you know, BG is the abbreviation, are the hospitals that primarily care for the occupational health insurance in Germany, meaning that all patients that have an accident at work, an accident on the way to work, or sustain any kind of disease during work, like lung diseases with asbestos, or with arthrosis of the knee for heavy lifting. That's where these hospitals come in. And you heard earlier already about the insurance system, which is made up of the statutory, the state health insurance, and the private health insurance. And this is the third one, the occupational health insurance in Germany. What makes us different? The occupational health insurance and their HCPs have the primary task to treat patients with severe injury and occupational disease, and to restore their health, to get them back to work. And that's our motto, at all appropriate means, which means our funding is slightly better than the state health insurance, where the cost-benefit equation is much more important. So it's not all appropriate means with this statutory health insurance, it's the less costly appropriate mean. So, and also I work at the Fraunhofer IMTE in Lübeck, which is situated at the university campus in Lübeck, the Fraunhofer Individualized and Medical Engineering Department. What Fraunhofer exactly means, I'll also come to that in a minute. What we do is we are very much into all sorts of newly developed and very modern medical devices. So we are there to help companies or research partners in the fields of medical devices when it comes to modeling artificial intelligence, 3D implants, automation, and so on and so on. Where do I come into that? Me as a medical doctor, I'm down here at the bottom, where you can see medical affairs and the regulatory affairs. I am responsible for the medical affairs a bit, and my partner in crime, Professor Volker, is in the area of regulatory affairs. So just to show you a bit what the services of a research organization like the Fraunhofer is when it comes to our institution in Lübeck. We are working in the field of electronics, instrumentation, artificial intelligence. We're quite strong in imaging and visualization, additive manufacturing. We have got a known department. Simulation is more and more interesting. Modeling, digital twins, and all of that needs, when we want to bring it to the market, when we want to develop a strategy, it needs a department of clinical research and regulatory affairs. So all this embedded into this building you earlier saw. But now to give you an overview about the research and development landscape in Germany. If you as a manufacturer from Japan seek an entrance and seek help, there are several places where you can attend, who can support you. We've got over 1,000 publicly funded research institutions like Fraunhofer, as well as various commercial research and development companies, like commercial entities. The Fraunhofer Gesellschaft is one of the largest, as I said. The Fraunhofer runs more than 72 facilities all over Germany in all different areas of research and developments. They're not all medical devices or medical technology. There is a good overview about the departments that the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft has. I put a link in all my slides. So if you're interested later, you can just download the PDF and get direct links. We spend about 2.6 billion euro annually, and we have got I've got 26,600 colleagues. Another very large player is the Leibniz Gemeinschaft, more basic research, and also with a large section of life science. Also here you can have a quick look on the link. And last but not least, the Helmholtz Association, which is like the Leibniz, more basic research, but with a clear focus on support for industrial research. So there are 18 research centers of the Helmholtz Association, and although it's basic research, they are always aiming at technology transfer and getting translational projects on the way to have the market in focus. And last but not least, we've got 380 universities in Germany, and many of them have got a very strong research position and are always interested in industry cooperation projects. So just to give you an overview about my landscape. So that is what you see now, the way I work here in Hamburg and in Lübeck, just to give a glance. For example, we've got in Hamburg the University Hospital, which is called UKE here. We've got the Helmholtz Helium Center, just I think a kilometer away from the BG Clinic in Hamburg. And all these partners you see here, we are performing cooperative research together with companies that have got research questions, that have got products they're interested to bring to the market, or for clinical research projects. And to make all this possible, we quite strongly rely on the German, the ministry in Berlin, the BMBF, or Ministry of Education and Research, and also on the European Union. And to bring all these companies together, for us, it's really important to have cluster organizations or economic support organizations like the VTSH or Life Science Nord here in Hamburg and Schleswig-Holstein. But as I said, this is just exemplary for our situation here, and there are many other research clusters all over Germany. So let's have a look. Clinical research is something that you're all interested in when it comes to the European market. Clinical research is not focused on the German market, because we all nowadays in Europe have to work in the MDR framework. I don't get into details now about the MDR. I bet you all know pretty much what it is, and it's more of a 3 hours talk than a 20 minutes talk when I want to introduce you into that quickly. But nevertheless, I can say we in Germany offer an excellent framework for clinical research with a high focus on quality, and with many available commercial stakeholders as well as non-commercial entities like universities. last but not least, at the end of the day, the CE mark is required for every new technology in Germany before you can, start marketing and also reimbursement. In the area of health, the Federal Institute for Drugs and Medical Devices, here called BfArM, is responsible for all clinical investigations that you with your companies of medical devices might be interested in, and also for the performance evaluations of in vitro diagnostic agents. But what you need to know, if you from Japan would like to import medical products or start producing here in Germany, the first port of call is the competent authority of the state. Germany is made out of 17 states. So the state where your company has its branch in. And again, I've put a link here where you can have a look if you're, for example, interested to start your European base in Hamburg. You can just find out there what the competent authority is. So the legal framework for clinical studies is clearly given, as I said, on a European level by the MDR, the Medical Device Regulations, and also pretty new, the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, which is come into place not many years ago and has, leveled out the data protection situation for the whole of Europe. Is, let's say, stronger data protection on first side, but on the other hand, if you work with it, it gives you an excellent framework. So you've got good borders to work with it. For Germany, for the MDR, we have a law how to apply the MDR in Germany, which is called Medizinproduktdurchführungsgesetz. No need to learn that, but it's called in short MPDG. And again, I've got a link there, but I fear it's only in German. Lastly, very important on the whole world, released GCP and applied in the MDR the ISO 14155. Something different in Germany to other European countries is if you've got a clinical research involving radiation, there's again another official point where you have to attend, which is the Bundesamt für Strahlenschutz. So for a clinical study, there are forms you have to fill out there. So funding of clinical research, that is always important for me as a clinical researcher if I want to do research at the university, but also for companies. And there is funding support for clinical studies in Europe and in the EU. The support for clinical studies is a bit regulated when it comes to the regulatory aspects, but that is changing now as the ministries and the EU have seen that for a company, the way to the market, the planning of a clinical research project starts with the product idea and not when the product is finished. Scientific studies are generally funded by the EU and the Ministry of Education and Research or the Ministry of Economics. And there is funding for companies as well as other entities, as long as they are based here in Germany. So once all these issues are solved, the access to medical entities and patients is relatively straightforward in Germany. And there's, I have to say, generally a positive perception of medical clinical research here in Germany. So don't hesitate if you are interested in clinical research performing it in Germany. What we have to say, on the other hand, it's high quality research. So in Germany, it comes with a price. We certainly cannot compete, let's say, with India or Romania, but then we are very stringent and organized performing our tasks. Yeah, the German healthcare market, that's what you might be interested in. How do you get a market access? How do you get reimbursement? Market access is it's quite easy. You need a CE certificate, but that doesn't help because then once you've got a medical device with just CE certificate, you can sell your products in Germany, but hospitals and all healthcare providers want reimbursement. So what's the path? It's a bit complicated. In Germany, the system works like that. We have for all diseases on this planet, there is an ICD code by the World Health Organization, and we use the German abbreviated version, the ICD-10-GM. And for every medical product, there is, let's say, a procedure. How is it, used? And for that, you need an OPS coding, which is OPS is the International Code of Procedures in Medicine, again applied to the German market and then called OPS. So if you've got a new, let's say, a new medical procedure, so you've got a new device, that's it. But if your new device is for a so far already known procedure, then that's no problem anyway. But if it's a new procedure, then you have to attend the INAC, the Institute for the Hospital Reanimation System. They maintain the GDRG codes. And if you've got a new code that you want to apply and get reimbursement for, you have to apply for a NUB, an NUB. And these NUBs are decided at the GBA, the Gemeinsame Bundesausschuss. It's a joint federal committee, and they ratify new procedures. And that, to make it a bit more complicated, there are two pathways, one to the hospital market and one to the ambulatory market. That is just a sub-part of the GBA. I bet you all dizzy by now, but it's not finalized because the insurance system, on the other hand, we already heard, is not that is one insurance for all, like for example in Britain, but it's we've got three pillars of insurance: the statutory health insurance, which is about 80% of the market. Then we've got the private health insurances, which is about 10% of the market. And I already introduced them, the occupational health insurance. So all of them pay for healthcare, but as I said, the statutory health insurance only pay for healthcare that is based on this NUB system using GDRGs or EBMs for the ambulatory sector. The occupational health insurance that pays for all healthcare, but only when there occur accidents or diseases acquired at work. And the private health insurance is pretty straightforward. They pay for all healthcare of their insured, but they cannot access by everybody in Germany. And to finalize the whole caboodle, the healthcare providers are split in two halves in Germany. Here you've got one block of hospitals and one block the ambulatory sector. And between these two, there is an invisible wall because they are completely apart from each other. We've got the hospital system where most statutory health insurances are accepted. The occupational health and health insurance is only accepted in dedicated hospitals, and then in several severity levels. And the private health insurance is generally accepted in all hospitals. The ambulatory sector, as I said, is completely split in two ways. But most of them, they accept the statutory health insurance. The occupational health insurance is very restricted to dedicated practices. And the private health insurance is generally accepted in all institutions of the ambulatory sector. So the path to the market. Once you've got a CE mark product and you are based, for example, in Germany, which I will recommend, or in any other EU country, then you have pretty much reimbursement access to most EU countries, apart from Germany, because we've got this specific system. But you can use Germany as a perfect base to enter all the other markets around us. You need for Germany specific diagnostic and procedural codes. We learned about that. And coding does not automatically reimbursement, but you have to go through this pathway of INAC and NUB. Anyway, the adequate uptake and correct coding of new technology by the hospitals that participate in the INEX calculation system is surveyed. And then, after all, the reimbursement for these new technologies is negotiated with the statutory health insurance. What is now if you have got a product or a software that is already, there is already a GDRG for it. So there are competitors who already sell these kind of products, then you can enter the German market straight away. But in that case, quite obviously, you have got competitors, and this tends to the sinking of the reimbursement for the hospitals. Here you see it looks a bit complicated, but this is the website, the site where our hospital gets the reimbursement from the statutory health insurance. And in this case, for the lengthening of an extremity, which is basically a nail that you put in somebody's bone with the aim to lengthen this bone. And what we get as a hospital in reimbursement is the amount of 10,000 euros for this procedure, which includes everything: the hospital stay, the surgery, and the implant that we require. And in Germany, we have to admit the patient to our hospital and discharge him in a mean duration of 10.2 days. If we do it, if we discharge him after 2 days, money is getting taken away from us. And only if we admit him for longer than 20 days, we get money on top. So you can imagine that all hospitals try to discharge patients after 4 to 5 days, because that increases the money that stays here. When you now got your medical products and you've got your CE or you performed your NUB procedure, how do you get to your products to our hospital here? In Germany, there's not a nationwide system or a regional system, but it's more like every hospital acquires their products themselves. For example, our hospitals, our group of hospitals, we do that together as a, let's say, chain. We've got a center in Berlin where we acquire medical products for the whole of our hospitals. And that's pretty much how most hospitals nowadays do that. They use either own, collaborations, or they go to one of the commercial increasing or buying syndicates, like Hospitalia is, I think, the largest, about 500 hospitals using them. And they, so that you as a manufacturer would go to Hospitalia and say, we've got this medical product, this would be our price, and then you negotiate and come to terms or not. Again, I think I've put links into these pages if you're interested to how to access these companies, but they're service providers, so they're pretty straightforward. Yeah, I think I have already stretched my time too far, but also I've seen that, the speaker after me is really telling you more about partnering in Germany. So I'm just be, very brief and just tell you my perspective as a healthcare provider and a clinical researcher. The easiest way to find potential partners, you can see on a regional level, on a German-wide level, or in a pan-European context. And for the local, regional level, there are lots of very excellent cluster organizations a wide array, and always depending on which state or which area you plan to enter the German market, you will find a cluster organization that will then send you in the right direction. A very, very meaningful care you get Germany-wide from both the Ministry of Education and Research and the Ministry of Economics. As naturally, they are really interested in attracting business activities and research interest from Japan here into Germany. And I think the Germany Trade and Invest is an excellent partner for all questions when you make your first steps, to tell you which is the best pathway. And then again, we in Germany, we are the heart of Europe. So it's the best starting point if you think in a pan-European way. And also there are European cluster organizations and collaboration platforms. Again, I think I've put you the links behind all this, and then you can get further information nicely there. Let's not forget, we are in the middle of Europe, and from Germany you always are short, really. And hereby I might end, and thank you very much for your interest. I've got my contact details here, and I'm happy to answer your emails if there are any further questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Schultz. 最後に講演4として、併機関ヘルスケア産業部門プロジェクトマネージャーのグレゴール・ケンパーからヨーロッパにおける最新研究について、そして、同部門のシニアマネージャーのガブリエル・フレミングからバイオテクノロジー並びに医療機器メーカーへの主要国際展示会についてのプレビューのプレゼンテーションを行ってもらいます。ケンパーは幹細胞分化に関するバイオ・ナノマテリアルの影響に焦点を当てた研究で博士号を取得。バイオ医薬品コンサルティング企業のアナリストとして活躍後、2019年より併機関で外国企業のドイツ進出サポートを行っております。ガブリエル・フレミングはミュンヘン大学ビジネススクールで日本の経済システムを研究するというユニークな経歴を持ち、ドイツ銀行において企業特許のバリューファンドを管理する、知的財産管理マネージャーを務めた後、2009年よりドイツ貿易投資振興機関にてヘルスケア産業医療技術スペシャリストとして活躍しております。それではグレゴー・ガブリエルよろしくお願いいたします。Gregor, Gabriel, stage is yours, but please note the time is pressing. So thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Let me share my slides. Yes, my name is Gregor Kemper. I'm in charge of the medical biotechnology sector of Germany Trade and Invests Chemicals and Healthcare team. Today, I would like to give you a quick introduction to some initiatives that GTAI is involved in, some publications, some events that might be interesting for you to either, for example, acquire information about the German medical biotechnology market or industry, or in order to network, in order to get contacts in Germany, in order to ideally prepare your potential future endeavors in Germany. And of course, I'm going to keep it short in order to leave some time for my colleague. Now, Professor Scholz, the last speaker, already mentioned the importance of biotechnology clusters in Germany. There are over 30 of them, and they are quite diverse. They are different in the way they are organized and they operate. And of course, they are diverse in the way that they do science in the scientific focus areas that they're primarily interested in. Some of them are very broad and basically cover the entire spectrum of biotechnology. Others are more narrow and work on a rather specific narrow area of science. And since, as I said, there are more than 30 of them, it may be challenging to get an overview of them quickly. In order to make this a bit easier, our team at GTAI has created a fact sheet, which is essentially a map of biotechnology clusters in Germany, containing information not only on which clusters there are and where they are located in Germany, but also a bit of information on which kind of areas of science they're active in, what they do, how they operate. There is currently a version of this available, but at this instant, GTAI is working on an update, on a new edition of this biotechnology cluster fact sheet, which we hope will be available this autumn. Another publication you might be interested in, since the biotech industry is closely intertwined with the pharmaceutical industry, is our our industry overview, Pharmaceuticals, which I created together with my colleague Julia Albrecht. In this publication, we've oriented largely around the key activities that international companies might be interested in Germany, sales, manufacturing, R&D, and we asked ourselves the question, what are the factors that people should know about Germany when it comes to these fields of activity. By the way, this industry overview also contains a statement, one page of information on Takeda Pharmaceuticals from Japan and their investment, their activities in Singen in Germany. You also have lots of opportunities to encounter my colleagues and me at international conferences at which we are present. For example, the Bio Japan, which is not far away, is going to feature a German pavilion, and I'm pleased to say that my dear colleague, Mr. Hiroshi Imamura, is going to be present at this pavilion at Bio Japan. So if you plan to attend, we would be happy if you find the time to meet the German pavilion, meet German companies, institutes, or authorities, and perhaps also us, Germany Trade and Invest. We'd be happy to provide information on the German life science or other markets. And GTAI is also usually present at different other international conferences, such as the Bio, which this year took place in San Diego, or AusBio in Australia. So these conferences, partnering conferences, are usually nice opportunities which you could use to get in touch with us and ask us anything you would like to know about Germany and the German market and the opportunities they have in store. One other important, especially for Europe, important partnering event is the Bio Europe, which has a basically sister event in spring too. And this year, next month, the Bio Europe is going to take place in Leipzig, Germany. And GTAI is going to attend. My colleagues and me are going to have a small stand. And there too, if you happen to attend, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to meet and answer any questions you might have. Now, in 2019, before the Bio Europe, we already organized, together with local economic promotion agencies, a tour for delegates from Japan, from Japanese biotech and pharma companies, to take the time, seize the opportunity when they come to Germany to see some sites and see some important locations when it comes to the life science industry in the region. And this year, we would like to repeat this together with the federal state of Saxony. We've organized a pre-Bio Europe tour, which is, as far as I know, still open for registration. We're going to visit a number of different locations that are important for biotechnology in the region, like these ones here. And if it's still possible, if you plan to attend, we'd be happy to greet you there too. And by this, I would like to hand over the mic to, unless there are any questions, to my colleague Gabriel Fleming.
Super, thank you so much, Gregor. This is Gabriel Fleming, also speaking out of Berlin. So I just have two slides prepared that I would like to show. Specifically, it's an update on a survey that we just performed on the medical technology cluster networks that we have in Germany, right? This is the map of a selection of high quality medical technology cluster networks that obviously are at your service. And I personally will be glad to make personal introductions to any of these should they become of interest to you, right? It's basically a selection here of 18 networks that focus on medical technology, and they're supposed to bring together industry, academia, and the clinical sectors, right? This is what they're about, to foster innovation and collaboration. 13 of these networks have already been certified by either German or European standards. And the selection you see here, they already have over 5,000 member companies. And specifically, university hospitals are backbone members of high importance, of course, and we have 35 of them organized as well to collaborate with these clusters. The survey, and we will publish it in just a couple of weeks. I will send you the fact sheet on those clusters. If you let me know, send me an email. Basically, what the finding was, the key topics. We asked for the key topics that they are focusing on technology-wise. Of course, we know the numbers of the memberships, but we also have insight into the topics, right? What's going on? And the most frequently provided answer by those clusters was that they're specifically focusing in digital health and diagnostics on the first place, right? Second place is implants. And on third, you will find minimally invasive surgery technologies, so maybe specifically on cardiology. But also you will have rehabilitation and assistive technologies. And once again, we'll be happy to make introductions here. I would like to finalize with an invitation. This is Medica coming up in just 2 months in Düsseldorf. I hope you will be able to come. We will have opportunities to meet in person. We will have several seminars going on. I will also I will moderate a panel at the Medica Health IT Forum, which is just one of the examples what we are doing. And in that one, we are focusing on the future of photonics in medical technology, right? We will have University Hospital of Jena joining to talk about their perception of what's going on in photonics and medtech. We'll have Berlin Glass company. It was recently acquired by Jenoptik, which of course will be joining here as well. And we'll discuss how components in electronics and optics can meet medical technology and to generate new business. Of course, you're invited to join. If you can't make it in person, let's have a chat on the video system. And then take it from there, right? Thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you soon in Berlin or in Düsseldorf.
Thank you very much, Gregor and Gabriel. 皆様、長時間にわたりご清聴ありがとうございました。ドイツ貿易投資振興機関が皆様のドイツでの成功をご支援いたします。ぜひお気軽に東京事務所までご連絡ください。皆様と個別にお話しできますことを心よりお待ち申し上げております。本日の講演録画公開について、お問い合わせをいただいております。本日登壇者の皆様からご了解をいただいておりますので、リンク J 様から公開されるものと思います。改めまして、このセミナーの機会をご提供くださった、一般社団法人ライフサイエンスイノベーションネットワークジャパンリンク J 様、ご繁忙の中ご挨拶くださいました事務局長高橋俊一様、そして、ご支援ご調整に奔走くださった三井不動産株式会社統括、木内様、リンク J 新藤様にこの場をお借りして心より御礼申し上げます。本日ここまでお話ししてまいりましたトピックスについては、弊期間東京事務所が年に一度発行しておりますマガジンで、近日本年号が出版されます日本語版マーケッツジャーマニー2022年号に 詳しく述べられております。無料でご入手いただけますので、発刊されましたらぜひご覧ください。併期間ウェブからダウンロードするか、冊子をご希望の方は併期間までご連絡いただければご郵送いたします。併期間が提供しておりますドイツ主要産業の情報、市場分析について、ぜひ併期間ウェブサイトをご覧いただければ幸いです。皆様本日は誠にありがとうございました。